Hey, it's Chris again. We're going to continue with our document settings configuration. This will be part 2. And again, what we're doing is we're making the videos so folks that are coming in via Spotify can click on the episode information and click a link to this video. Last time we were in here, we talked about versioning settings and advanced settings. We kind of focused on these. The next couple we're going to look at are some important ones. One is to delete the document library. Normally only the owner can do this, so you want to step lightly when you're looking at this particular option here to remove a document library. But we will get into permissions a little bit here, and also to a concept called audience targeting. So let's go to audience targeting first. And audience targeting is a way in your document library to enable audience targeting so that you can make the experience that the user sees in the library when it comes to the content, like the rows and the columns, to be targeted just to people that are a member of a certain group, an activity group. The idea here is to have a document library that might have 100 documents in it, but 20 of those aren't available to be seen in the document library listing because they're not part of the target audience for it. So think of audience targeting. We used to call this permissions through obscurity because we're not using heavy permissions to lock it down. We're simply just making the experience that the user sees when they're looking at a document library show just the documents that they really need to be seeing. Whereas let's say a manager might log in to the same document library and see the other 20 files we talked about because audience targeting was turned on and they were specified to be able to see that particular content that's in there. Pretty straightforward. Next one we're going to get into a little bit more deep here is permissions for this document library. I want to give it a click. First thing we're going to see is a standard permissions backend type of a configuration screen. And right now, this particular library is inheriting from its parent. And what we mean by that is the parent is the site. So whoever has access to the site, whether it's read, contribute, or owner, is going to have that level of permissions to this particular library because it is being managed by the parent. If we wanted to block some of the content off for a library to only a small amount of people, we could stop inheriting, and that's going to basically disconnect this library permission-wise from its parent. At that point, you could do what's known as locking down a library. So that's a good thing to know about. We'll do a separate video just on that topic too, of locking down libraries. But in this example, being able to go in and just find out in your site who has membership, permissions, owner, and visitor. And the way we do that, from here we just click on the name of the group. These are 3 groups here. So that we have no members in the site right now as an example. And then we're going to go look at visitors. And we'll see in the visitors, we have no visitors, but we do in the site owners group show me as the one person that's an owner in there. So being able to use the settings to go ahead and be able to look at the permissions that relate to that document library are pretty important to be able to have. So we're going to go back a little bit. And then again, here we are here. Another thing that's nice about when we're in the document library itself is being able to do what's called check permissions. I can give that a click and I can put in a name. And it should resolve that to a person. And what I'm essentially asking SharePoint is to check on the permissions for this particular person. And as we can see here, we've got full control given through the User Insights owner group. That's the group that you just saw me in. But no other types of limited or web-only access, just full control through the group. So we're going to go back a little bit. And again, you'll use permissions for the document library a lot. Clicking it one time, getting over to the groups that are here, deciding whether or not I want to continue being managed by the parent with permissions. In other words, I can't change these permissions. I can go to the parent and change them, then they will flow down into the library because it's inheriting from there. Or I can lock down the library by stop inheriting the permissions. And then we just showed you the check permissions also. Okay, and then one last little comment here. Managing files that have no checked-in version. As a site owner, it's nice to be able to go into a library, or the owner of the library, and find out if there are any documents out there that do not have a checked-in version. Right now, it's a pretty clean site, so it's going to come back and say all files are currently checked-in versions, which is good. What this kind of means is if there's 4 or 5 documents out there that somebody opened up, or a group of people opened up and they're working on them, but they haven't checked them back in yet, they haven't saved them back to SharePoint, those would show up. So, and the way they would show up would be who they're checked out to, when they were last modified, how big they are. So if you think you might have some documents in your library that are not checked in to their most current version, you'll see the name of the person that has the document checked out. And that's a good way to clean up these unchecked in documents. Specifically, just so you know things are checked in properly, but also when it comes time to doing migrations, being able to have all your documents checked into a library that's being migrated is important. And that's it. So we're just going to bring it on back home. And that's going to do it. Thanks a lot.